welcome all of you to the third Ramakrishna Hegde Memorial Lecture. The first memorial lecture was delivered in 2005 by Dr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, then the Government of India, on the topic Poverty and Development, Some Reflections on the Indian Experience. The second lecture was in 2006, delivered by Lord Meghnad Desai on the politics of poverty, or the poverty of politics. This year, Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, the President of the Infinity Foundation, will deliver the Ramakrishna Hegde Memorial Lecture. Mr. Malhotra, as has just been mentioned, and as many of you might already know, is an Indian-American public intellectual and philanthropist. I thank Dr. Amit Mitra for agreeing to chair this lecture.
Friends, it's a great honor for me to introduce to you someone who has been in some way a visionary of this lecture. At the age of 40 plus, you said, I'm not going to earn money anymore, I'm going to give it. And you went, because you were in the corporate world, you gave up all that and you started a foundation. You gave your own money. Today you've given 300 to 400 grants, I believe, for research. In Princeton, New Jersey, you sit, you work on issues which are complex. The topic that you have chosen to address us, and I'm very grateful to the foundation, particularly to you, ma'am, for keeping this flame alive. The topic you have chosen in consultation with the foundation is, where is India in the encounter of civilizations?
Thank you very much for inviting me, Pratibhaji. It's an honor to be here and for a very grand introduction. I didn't have the honor of knowing or meeting Mr. Hegde personally, but Pratibha gave me some reading material which was very informative and very impressive. And in fact, the rise of disruptive forces, which was already referenced, is extremely important lecture he gave in 1992, because it resonates with a lot of my own work, and how I wish he were here as a collaborator, because I'm trying to take forward the same sort of ideas which he mentioned in 1992. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is where are these disruptive forces today. It turns out that the disruptive forces have become stronger, more institutionalized in vote banks, more organized, but worst of all, they become internationalized and linked with global forces. So while he talks about a Khalistan movement and Northeast movement and Dravidian movement and various kinds of disruptive movements, in that era, before globalization, they were contained locally within a certain space. There wasn't the connection with forces outside of the country, global nexuses, which now exist, and that will be an important part of what I want to talk about. Something happened here. Okay. Some of my research interests, which are factoring into this presentation, have to do with India's centrifugal forces, which is what Hegde would call disruptive forces. And centrifugal forces, as you know, are anything that tear a system apart. And these are both internal and external. The internal disruptive forces today are known as communalism, and also economic disparities and social disparities of various kinds. But there is another element of centrifugal force added to the dimension, which is external. It is not just Pakistan stirring up disruptive forces in India. It's not just China stirring up links with Maoist forces in India. It is not just the Baptist Church in North America stirring up Nagaland separatism and Dravidian separatism in South India. It's all of these and more. So the centrifugal forces are more complex and globalized. But there are also centripetal forces which are opposite, which bring the nation together. For instance, development of a corporate kind, infrastructure building, national governance, these kind of things bring the nation together. And I'm interested in what's the role of civilization in preserving a nation's sovereignty. In other words, can a nation be sovereign very long if it doesn't have a cohesive shared civilization? Can a random collection of people continue to exist as a nation with all these centrifugal forces unless there is some cohesive sense of identity that brings them together? I am also interested in the role of Indian civilization as a positive force in the world. What are its contributions to the world? That is an important area of my work. And finally, what are the prospects for India? And what are some of the prerequisites for India to harvest and harness these prospects? Now, civilization, briefly defined as I'm going to use it, is a shared national identity, or the collective images we have of us as a people, a collective sense of history and shared destiny that we have. It brings a deep psychological bond that makes citizens feel that the nation is worth defending. If you don't have this, then what is the we we're trying to defend that we're trying to make sacrifices for? So that civilization is that we, it gives you that sense of we in a positive sense. And breaking the civilization is like breaking the spine of somebody. And as in the case of a patient, if the social spine is broken, then the nation can be crippled and also behave randomly. I come across cynical attitudes in India with this regard. For instance, there's people who would say there is no such thing as Indian civilization. It's a hodgepodge of many things put together, and the British gave us a nation. And so there's a debate on whether India is 5,000 years old or whether India is 60 years old. And that, where you end up on that debate tells a lot about your views on civilization. There's others who say that if there is a civilization, it's a bad idea because it's responsible for all our problems. It's what makes us primitive and oppressive and things of that sort. Then there's those who feel that civilization and identity, whatever they might have been, are obsolete. Because today we have a flat world like Thomas Friedman's flat world, and everything, you are an individual with meritocracy, and the concept of identity in groups don't matter. I disagree, and I will explain later why. There's an attitude which says differences are a bad idea. Anything that makes you different is a potential for trouble, and therefore differences are to be eliminated. I hear this quite a lot here. On the other hand, one could say that difference is to be celebrated. There is a worldview that Indians have, very ancient worldview that says difference is inherent in nature. It's an inherent part of the fabric of reality and the cosmos. Plants, animals, seasons, everything, there's differences built into it. Differences are built into the way human beings are composed, in our bodies, in our minds, in cultures and languages. So difference can be celebrated. And if you learn how to celebrate difference, which I feel is the quintessential Indian contribution in civilization, then you do not have the problems which you have if you feel that difference has to be eliminated. Because the moment you say difference has to be eliminated, well, do you change to me, to my way, to eliminate difference? Do I convert you to be like me so we don't feel anxiety over difference? Do I genocide you because it bothers me that we are different, so I get rid of you? Do I enslave you? All these are things that have happened in the name of eradicating difference to have one word. And it actually creates more problems as opposed to learning how to live with difference and celebrate it. Finally, even discussing the topic of an encounter of civilizations is often viewed with great suspicion. People think there's some kind of a conspiracy theory going on or some kind of a negative thing going on, and wouldn't we be better off if we just talked about how everything is great and we are singing and dancing and doing Bhangra together, kind of like a Bollywood ending. I'm often told, make sure you have a Bollywood ending when you talk. So I'm not sure I'll live up to that. There's also another attitude prevailing, which I call escapism. And escapism is this very lofty and apathetic kind of approach, moralizing, which says things like there is no other, we believe in everything, all paths lead to the same goal, we survive for 5,000 years and we'll survive no matter what, we have the truth and the mantras and the deities on our side, and in any case it's all Maya and Mithya, so why bother? Now, to those of you who are my spiritual friends, a lot of you are in the audience, this is a topic of conversation that we can take on. But even great spiritualists like Sri Aurobindo actually wrote very aggressively against this mindset as a defeatist, otherworldly, world-negating mindset, which is not what true spirituality is about, and it is about engaging the world and dealing with issues. Then there's another kind of escapism,